So, welcome to the Real Estate Life podcast. On this podcast, we are dedicated to creating a life of passive income through real estate and doing something that we love along the way. Today on the show, I have a special guest, Richard Barthelemy. Me and Richard have done quite a few deals in the past couple of years. I wanted to bring him onto the show because I think he has a very interesting and very fruitful business model that I would love the listeners to know, especially in the market that we're in right now where you can't find inventory. So Richard got into the business of real estate in 2015. He also owns his portfolio of rental properties. He is an active investor, and he also has a call center and works for multiple virtual assistants around the world to get deals. The deals that Richard brings me are sometimes I'm like, how did you get this? So that's the type of relationship me and Richard have. He sources deals for me and other investors. And I want you guys to hear his story and how he does it and share his experience. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Richard, so before we get into, everything I just mentioned about how you source deals, I want the listeners to know a little bit about yourself and how you got into the business of real estate, because you've only been in the business since 2015, but I've seen what you've done since then, and it's pretty impressive. Yeah, give them a little bit of background of your story.
Well, basically, it all started with an 8-unit building in Little Havana. It was my father's, and once me and my brother took it upon us, a lot of people told us sell it, but we were up for the challenge. So that was our first experience at stabilizing a multifamily asset. And we pumped in about $80,000, raised the rents about 40%, and took what was a non-performing asset into a really, really juicy performing asset in about a year. And from there, that's when we started.
That's when you got hit with the real estate bug, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like a glove. It's the best thing I can say. Never done it before. But I just looked at it and go, you know what? New kitchens, new bathrooms. Let me look at the market rents. Oh, yeah. We can do something here.
Yeah. Are you still holding on to that asset, or you sold it?
No, we sold it.
You sold it. What did you exit on that on a per door?
Man, this one was sold about 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
2017.
And we ended up selling. It was 8 doors, and we sold it for $935. Which I think that's probably still one of the highest comps in the area.
Yeah, back then, yeah. And the listeners who don't know, when he means Little Havana, he's not talking about Cuba. He's talking about Miami.
Exactly.
Because I know some people mistaken that it's a submarket here in Miami where it's a hot apartment market. There's a lot of trading going on there. I own 52 apartments in that area too, so I'm very aware of what Richard did there. So Richard, but what business were you in with before you got into investment in real estate?
Well, before that, I had the pleasure to work for Public Supermarkets for 20 years. I was in upper management there. I'm still thankful for those 20 years because this is a people business. And the people skills that I learned in those 20 years, leadership skills, ability to work with all kinds of different personalities, I employ that every single day. Whether I'm talking to my plumber, my GC, another realtor, another investor, in real estate, you work with who you like. And that's something that I learned day to day working for Publix.
So I'm very familiar with the Publix brand. They do have their places are impeccable. They have great customer service. So you were able to get that savviness from being in that environment and bring it into the real estate business. And are you a full-time real estate investor now?
Yes, full-time.
Well, how was that leap of faith for those listeners that are trying to figure out if they're going to take this leap and how do they do it? How was that? How much did it take for you to say, you know what, I'm going to drop my comfortable 9 to 5 and say I'm going full blown on this real estate stuff?
I always think that all major decisions the answer becomes obvious. So I tried to juggle both for a couple years, and I was working 7 days a week, 5 years at Publix, and my 2 days off, managing our rehabs, going out there. That was like I didn't have a day off. I still don't have days off. And when was the decision made? When the loss of opportunity began to increase and increase when we were losing out on deals because we just couldn't get to them. And that's when it became, you know what, it's time to go because loss of opportunity keeps on adding up.
Yeah.
And
So
it was actually quite a simple decision.
Now, this is a question that I always ask because everyone has a different way of seeing it. So if you were to give an advice to a listener out there that's working as, their full-time job and wants to jump into this business, what advice would you give them on the reserves? How much money do you that's the question. How much money do you need to have saved up? How many months of your overhead do you want to have saved up? What would you say to that? Because that's always the scariest thing. Because how long would it take to make a deal happen?
That's a great question. And in real estate, there's no weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
I'll give you in Publix, you show up and, you get paid. Yeah. Real estate is not like that. You need to work for these deals. So, I always tell people, have about 6 months of reserve at least. They're ready to go so you can pick from while you're building your pipeline and you're working your deals. Deals won't close in a week. They don't close in a day. They should close in a month, and sometimes they won't close. And you need to be prepared for that financially and also mentally, because that could get disheartening, but that's just the name of the game. But once you get the ball rolling, it's like an avalanche because you have pipeline and you have deals after deals just beginning to close. You need to be patient, be mentally ready, and 6 months of reserve is what I would recommend to anyone.
So that's great advice. I agree with you. 6 months to a year, you need to be ready because you're creating a business from scratch. Now, right. I know that you are a full-time multifamily investor, but you also love to buy and flip houses. Now, right now, in the current state of our market, it is very difficult to find a deal. So for the listeners out there, I use Richard to find me multifamilies. To find me large multifamilies. We kind of pick our markets. And the reason why I use Richard has a very creative way of sourcing deals. Richard uses VAs around the country, and he has multiple VAs working, sourcing deals throughout his pockets that he picks. Now, Richard, I'm very familiar with the VA business, and I'm also very familiar with call centers, and I'm also familiar with the data sourcing. But for the listeners out there to understand, give us a little bit of background and why did you start doing that, and how does it work? Can I give us some feedback on that?
Well, so originally we contracted a company to do this for us because our idea was to create a business. There's, not just flipping a house here or there, but was to create a business. So we needed to scale out and we needed support. So we had a company that we were working with, and we just weren't happy with it. We weren't happy with the service, with just the way it was operating. And then from there, we built our own call center, our own VAs, which report directly to us. It's our company. And we began to create our systems, because that's a key to a successful VA, to use VA successfully. You need to have systems in place that are scalable and are repeatable. Steps 1 through 5 that anyone can repeat. I will use the example as, McDonald's. I've never flipped a burger in my life, but if I walk into McDonald's, there'll be step-by-step instructions and I'll be able to make a Big Mac in about half an hour. And that's how we created our business systems. You need to have systems that they can all follow. And if one leaves, another one just steps seamlessly into their shoes, and we continue.
Got it. And how do you? Obviously, you're running these VAs from the United States, and you use different countries to do that. How do you stay on top of their training? How do you know that they're making the right calls? How do you stay on top of it if you're not physically there? Because that's the challenge. A lot of folks are like, oh my God, someone's in this. How do you do that?
Well, there's technology out there for that, and everybody knows what Slack is. We use Slack. We also use WhatsApp to a lesser extent. But the key is probably our CRM, where we're able to see what they're doing, how they're doing, and make sure they're following the steps that we put in place. We also have 3 managers that are paid to oversee them, and then they report to us on our different KPIs that we've created.
What's KPI?
Key performance indicators.
Okay.
So we're meeting our goals in terms of calls made, offers sent, follow-ups that were done, things of that nature. And that's how we know that everything is staying on task.
Got it. And now, how do you pick your submarkets? Is that something that you just pick the hot neighborhoods, or do you find the investor that wants that neighborhood, or how do you go about picking submarkets? Do you follow trends? I know when it comes to from you sourcing deals to me, I'm very clear to you what I'm looking for and where I want specifically. How do you do it for your business?
Well, just like yourself, Abiel, we have investors that give us shopping lists. What are you looking for? And at that point, we already have the system and the filters and the technology in place where if someone says, yeah, I want to look for properties in Minnesota. Well, we've never done anything in Minnesota. But just tell me what area you're looking in Minnesota and we can start looking for you. Within a week, we'll have it in place. We'll have a VA trained on what to do. And then that's it. We start shopping there. And then obviously, what we do for ourselves, we focus on, I would say, from Central Florida on down all the way down to the Keys. That's our particular market. But for any other investor out there that wants to look anywhere else, it's not a big deal to be able to cater it to look for them.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to get into more about how working with a VA is such a great way to grow your business. I'm not saying that we don't have good jobs here. It's just some of the VAs just are very effective at getting things done at the cost that they do. One of the things that you brought to my attention, which is, I forgot about that because I used to do it early in my career. You still approach properties on the market. People say, oh no, there's no good deals on the market right now. and I think that you've proven to me that there is, but the reason why is because of how effective you are and your consistency in the volume. Tell me a little bit how you don't care about what people say that there's no deals on the market because you find them anyways. Tell me about that.
Man, it's about volume and follow-up. That's what it's about. I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples. I mean, there was one deal that we just finished where asking price was $375 and we got it for $175 on the MLS.
On this market?
And this was 2 months ago.
That's crazy. And for those that don't understand, he's talking about a property where here in Miami.
Yeah, it was in Miami. It was in Little River.
So to hear about a deal at that price here in Miami, I already, just by knowing that number, it's a home run. The average home here is above 300.
Oh yeah.
And some markets are above 500. So I just know that number he just got there. And why did you get that price? What is it that you did that other agents and other investors are not doing that you got that deal?
We sent about 1,000 offers a month.
Are you serious? 1,000?
Yes, we send about 1,000. It's a numbers game. 1,000 offers a month. Most don't respond. That's number one. Second of all, we're sent to hell. But then you do have the portion that says, "Give me a call and let's discuss." The property might not be distressed. Obviously, the market situation is not distressed, but the owner may be. They may be looking for something fast to get out and, call it a day. This particular deal that I just told you about, we closed this in 2 weeks because that was the value that we provided to the seller. They wanted something quick and easy, and that's where we came in. But the follow-up is also key because the person that sent us to hell, the realtor, that doesn't mean we're just going to roll over and go away. We'll email them again in about a week. Hey, I'm just following up on your property. Has anything changed? And you know what? Sometimes things change.
Yeah.
And then that's when we come in and we can do something.
Well, you know what? I want to add to that because without you knowing it, you have sent me offers to my properties.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
So there is a stigma that a lot of agents, they hate that when they know that their property is being marketed, and it's always like, oh God, that's just an automated service sending offers out. But the follow-up, it's what has them change their mind on that. And there's
correct.
something, yeah, correct. And then I've gotten calls from your call center It doesn't feel like a call center. I've gotten calls like an agent saying, "Did you receive our offer?" and talks to me about the deal. And I think that's the edge you need to have, because you do get offers that are so automated. Then the person that calls you has a very strong accent, so you know it's already a VA. So I'm not paying attention to this. So those are things that affect a seller and an agent from saying that guy's not serious. He hasn't seen the property. So how do you get around when an agent tells you, "Have you seen the property?"
I'm going to give you exactly what we say. We're very well versed in the area. We're very active in the area. We know what the property is.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, we train our VAs to be able to carry on conversations and not sound like bots, because that's when you will have the door closed on you. So a very important part of our success in this regard is we record these calls, and then we monitor them. We manage them. We give feedback. We have a grading system based on points on how effective the call was. And that's how we stay on top of coaching to make sure that we're successful.
Now, for the listeners to know, everything that he said that's very accurate. I am under contract right now on 102 units that Richard got to us. Now, the way he got this 102 units is exactly how you're hearing him, just very aggressively following up. But he identified my criteria. He knew what I was looking for. He understood my business model, which is another important thing and for anyone that wants to create a relationship with someone like Richard, or with Richard directly, I'll drop his information, but with someone like this to source deals, another form of sourcing deals, having a complete clarity of what exactly you want is what makes their life easy. I don't go to Richard and tell him, "Hey, whatever you find that's off market or anything that's a good deal, send it to me." He knows that's the worst thing that you could tell to anyone that's sourcing deals for you. You want to tell him exactly what you want, so he could refine his call. He could refine his target audience, because it's expensive to buy these leads, Richard. I know you spend a lot of money on that. That's the other side of the coin that I want listeners to know. How expensive it is to do volume and buy leads?
Well, man, it's a lot of steps, because number one, you need a call center. So there, we're paying about 12 to 13 bodies. You need to have the data source. You need to have the technology. We was called Time Doctor, where basically that is our supervisor on site for all of our VAs, because let's be honest, a lot of times you're paying them for, let's say, 4 or 5 hours worth of work, and they could be spending their time watching YouTube videos. So there's a way around that where you can actually monitor their computer screen to see what's going on. Awesome. So there is a significant overhead into running this operation successfully. We have 2 of them that are just dedicated straight to follow-up. If you don't follow up on these leads or these offers, you're spinning your wheels and wasting your time. It's going to usually take more than one touch.
Got it.
So there's a lot of factors that go into running this successfully.
Got it. So, Richard, you're going to how many years now with the call center?
Probably about 2.5 years, and we continue to improve it, grow it. I mean, we always think of new ideas and things to attack, and then, okay, well, we're going to start attacking this now. How are we going to do it? We create the filters, the script to fit, whatever it may be, and then boom, we execute. Now,
who's your ideal investor or client? Are you doing also joint ventures, or you're providing this service and making a commission, or how is it? If me, Abiel Ballesteros, approaches you, Richard, I need your help sourcing deals. What is it? Would you tell me?
We're open. This is a relationship-based business, so we can do a joint venture, or you can just tell me what you're looking for, and I'll find it for you, and then we'll split the pizza pie some way where we all make money. It needs to be a win-win. Anybody that we work with, it has to be a win-win for everyone involved. So it's all open for negotiation and whatever works for both parties. Because if you're not happy, then we're not going to have a very long, fruitful relationship. And this is a relationship-based business.
Got it.
So it's something that works for all of us.
Richard, I want to dive into to deals. I know that you're buying income properties. And I know your portfolio right now is 20 units. You like the duplexes and the fourplexes. You like those small multifamilies that you like to manage. From my conversations with you and from knowing what you own, tell me a little bit about what you see your direction going when it comes to, passive income.
Well, I like the small units because of the liquidity factor, where you can wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I need to raise a couple $100,000 or whatever it may be, sell off a duplex. Very simple and very easy. That's been very fruitful, but a goal that we did set ourselves for 2021 is we want 500 doors by the end of the year.
I love
I know,
that.
I know
Step
that
into my playing field.
exactly. But on a smaller scale.
500 is not a small scale, bro.
No. But let me explain. We won't be acquiring 200 unit buildings just yet.
Yeah.
But, that is a goal of us that we have. We're going to start targeting a number like 15 units or up. And, that's our goal.
It's a beautiful business, man. I can't preach it enough. Well, how beautiful multifamilies are when you start scaling it. I also started like you, and we've had these conversations with the duplexes and the fourplexes, and you got that taste of that income coming in on that small units. But it's hard to scale. It's hard to get to 500 units for the duplexes and fourplexes. But once you start getting into multifamilies, and especially with the sources that you have to get deals, you have an edge, you have an advantage over a lot of folks. And hopefully I could buy some before you get to that number. Richard, for the listeners out there, give me what has been one of the most difficult deals or problems you have had, and how did you fix it, man?
Our most difficult deal was actually it was a flip. It was a small scale flip. I'll give you the quick version of it. It was a property that had been passed on already by two, and we were the third investor. Somebody bought it, couldn't figure it out. Another person bought it, couldn't figure it out. And then we came and we bought it, and it was a struggle. But that's when we learned to really get hands-on on how to fix our situations and learn. So long story short, half of the property was an illegal addition. Two investors couldn't figure it out. They had already actually done almost 90% of the work, but they couldn't flip the property. Hired an architect, wasn't able to figure it out. And before we gave up on the deal, we said, you know what? Let's go ourselves to the county. We went to the county. All they asked us to do was pull a plumbing permit to relocate a washer and dryer, and they would legalize the entire property.
How much you making that deal?
That deal we purchased for $103. The previous investors had already done all the work, because they see that they worked backwards. They needed to make sure they legalized the property first before putting a penny in. So we didn't do anything until we saw what we needed to do. They put in 103. We had we bought at 103 and needed about another $10,000. Sold it for $198.
Oh my God, I love it. See,
that was the property in Little River.
That's awesome. So there you go. That's what hearing those stories is, Richard has, he's created a life through real estate. Those things, when you're in the trenches in this business every day, you're going to hit some home runs. And I always say that to everyone in any business, but in real estate is like that. You're going to hit some home runs. You just got to be in it every day.
Every day. Yeah,
exactly. So those deals do come around. And if you're lucky, you hit a couple of those in a year. What Richard made in profit in that deal, that's what someone makes in a Saturday yearly. And that's the beauty of this business. I love to hear stories like that. All right. That's a beautiful story, Richard. Now let's talk about, the biggest failures, or the deals that are just memorable, those deals that were an expensive education. Tell me about those deals. I have plenty of them. In fact, I always tell my investors, the education that I've gotten in the last 10 years or 15 years in real estate, you're going to benefit that from me now because I already made them. So what would you call your biggest failures?
I share the same thing with them. I don't like the word failure. I like to use the word educational opportunity.
All right. Yeah. It's School of Hard Knocks.
I call it that. It was actually a specific property in the city of North Miami, very fond to my heart. They require a certificate of reoccupancy. make sure you're well versed in that before you buy in that municipality. So, you know, that property, that was a challenge. That was probably our worst flip. We didn't lose money, thankfully. We broke even. You make money when you buy in this business. That's you know, I always tell that to any novice investor that wants to start doing this. You need to prepare for the absolute worst and ask yourself if you're okay with that number. And that's what we did with this deal. You know, basically everything, you know, worked against us, but we didn't lose money. We broke even, but we got a heck of an education where I now know how to navigate that process. And you got to do this from the beginning, not at the end when you're already under contract and ready to sell. At that point, you're behind the 8 ball.
So what was it about that city? Was it that you just weren't educated on how that city was, or was it your contractor? Where was it that specifically you made a mistake that led you to that? What was it specifically?
I'll tell you specifically. So we weren't educated on what certificate of reoccupancy was. That property was a challenge to sell from the beginning. I'll share something else that's probably very good for novice investors to know. Comps are not just what you see on a computer screen. It's not just going on the MLS and saying, okay, those are my comps, good to go. This particular property was very awkward. It's set in a corner. It had a flat roof, and the yard was on the side of the house that faced the streets. The comps on paper for that house called 265. With what this was back like in 2017. With what we know now, if that same property comes onto our radar, I'm going to look at it and go, that's wonderful. Yeah, within a block, a house sold for 265, but it didn't have a flat roof, and it didn't sit in a corner where the entire yard was on the side of the house facing the street. So I'm going to comp this one at about $25,000 less than what the actual comps, because I'm preparing myself for the worst, because this is what a buyer is going to see. So I learned that from that deal, you know, to actually look at the property itself and look at it from a buyer's perspective. Is my buyer going to pull up here and say, my God, I love this house? Or is he going to pull up and say, why is the backyard on the side of the house facing the street? And this house is ugly. It has a flat roof. So that was a tremendous learning opportunity that I applied day to day. I have a lot of people that send me deals, and I tell them, guys, would you live in that house? The house is disgusting.
Yeah.
So what are the comps? 300. Well, I'm not going to get 300.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because I have my red flags, the properties that as soon as I open them, I look at them immediately. I don't spend a minute underwriting it because of that specific thing. One, you mentioned one, it's those flat roofs in South Florida, not popular design. Properties on high traffic street. I would not open them. I've had those before. I hear success stories from investors on traffic street properties, and I'm like, good for you, man. I just stay away from them. The comps on traffic street always look amazing on paper, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. But you said something that is very important. How does the property feel when you walk it inside? How do you feel about it? Are the bedrooms spread out correctly? Is the layout attractive? Is the kitchen attractive? Do I need to gut this whole property to make it attractive on the feels perspective? So those things are really important. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that comes with experience. And a lot of investors make that mistake, that you look at the comps only. You look at the square footage only. Oh, I have a 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Square footage is great for the market. But when you walk in that property, like, what's going on? Something's weird. Something's off here. And I agree with you on that, 100%.
Any deal that we're considering, we get in our cars, we drive the property, we drive the comps, and I get a feel for what my buyer is going to see.
Correct.
And if the comps are, let's say 300, but there's something off with the block or something off with the house or the neighbor, hey, any deal can work at the right number. But then I got to tell myself, well, I need to overcome these factors. And the only way to overcome those is by sales price, or deck the house out so unbelievably nice where the buyer will look at it and go, you know what, this makes up for XYZ factors. But all that I just mentioned right now is money. So that's very important when you underwrite a deal. Go drive the asset so you know what you're doing.
I agree. 100%. And feel it out, man. If the property doesn't feel right inside, the way the layout is, don't force it. And if you force it, make sure that you budget, because you're gonna make it work inside. Richard, that's very important stuff that you gave to the listeners there. I'm glad you shared that with us. Now, Richard, I like to end the show with a question that I ask all my guests, and just want to get your perspective. What does financial freedom mean to you?
Man, financial freedom is making money when you sleep. Coming to the office because you want to, not because you have to. That's independence and that's wealth. Passive income is wealth. Flips are cool, don't get me wrong, but I always tell everyone is, that's a great way to start raising capital, get into the business, but you can't flip your entire life. Wealth is passive income, showing up to work because it puts a smile on your face, and you should be able to make money from anywhere in the world.
I'm glad you share that, man. Passive income is definitely, once you discover it, you're like, wow, I wish somebody would have, they should teach that in high school.
Yes, they should.
I don't know they should teach passive income. They should teach, they should have a course, or at least the option to pick like how to underwrite multifamily deals. I swear to God, I can't wait for me to start teaching my son about passive income. As soon as he starts doing math, I'm putting rent rolls and income and expenses. I just want him to understand that business. I wish I would have learned it earlier. Richard, man, it was awesome. I'm glad to have you on the show. Richard, if there's listeners out there that want to work with you and get deals from you, how can they reach you?
Guys, you can just reach out to me directly. At the end of the podcast, we'll put my information, my cell phone number, my direct email. I'm all about networking. I'm all about meeting people. That's the heartbeat of this business. As we've grown, we've been blessed, and we have now people that call us and bring us deals directly, or I'll be the first one they call. Hey, I got this. Do you want it? Based on our reputation that we've built up, we're legit. We don't play games, and it's never just about one deal. It's about the many after. Me and Abiel have known each other for a while, and we've done a ton of deals together, and we've seen them grow and grow from $100,000 houses to what we're doing now. So great.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to continue working with you. Do not give anything that's over 80 units, you give it to me first.
For sure.
All right, Richard, man. Thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you.
Take care.
Abiel.
Bye-bye.